of the Town Commission of the Town of Anger. We will start with Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will move into an invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you will take your seat, Junior had a special privilege that he wanted.
You don't want to sit down, but I just wanted us all to keep in mind we had in the construction world that we all, some of us in here work, and we had a serious fatality today in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we lost several people that was on the scaffold that collapsed, and lost 3 people, and several seriously hurt. And just want us to keep them in our prayers, and also the player from Buffalo last night that's in critical condition that in the hospital in Cincinnati. Let's keep him in our prayers as well.
Okay, let us pray. Almighty God, we ask your blessings and answers to our prayers in those 2 matters. We invite you to be with us tonight. We look forward to the starting of a new year with all of its promise and all of the things that we are hoping will happen. Thank you, Lord, for this meeting. Keep it within your guidelines, and thank you for everything that's going to happen here tonight. Amen.
Amen.
Be seated, please. Okay, the agenda is before us. Mr. Price, you have an amendment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the finance office to extend the audit contract and add it under new business.
What you're suggesting is that we consider that at that point.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. All right. Anything else? If not, the agenda as amended is before you, or proposed agenda as changed. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, there are no presentations that I know of tonight. Public comment. We have 4 people signed up. We will go in order. First, Chevelle Harmon.
I think it's on. Is it on? Is it on? Okay. Okay. Very good. I'm Chevelle Harmon, 95B Honeycutt Drive, here in Anger. I just have a couple of things I'd like to discuss tonight. The first is with something I witnessed at the taxpayer-sponsored Christmas party a couple of weeks ago. I hope that I never have to see it again. I would recommend, Commissioner Hawley, that if you are in the capacity to represent the town, that you do so with dignity and respect. I hope that you have since apologized to the 2 business owners for whom you intentionally belittled. The business owners
I think that goes a little far. Just state your proposition, please.
I say this as someone who's also been on the receiving end of that disrespect. And so I just would hope that you conduct yourself as a commissioner whenever you are in the town capacity. I'm also here to talk about the issue of nepotism and the impact it has on local government and on morale. Nepotism is defined as the practice of favoring family members and friends in politics and business. In government, it is when someone is appointed to a position, a job, or a committee based on their connection and not their qualification. Unfortunately, nepotism is a common problem in local government and one that can have significant impact on employee morale. When nepotism is present, it can lead to a sense of unfairness and can create a hostile work environment. Citizens or employees who are not related to or in the good graces of the people in power, they may feel overlooked or unfairly treated. Nepotism can also lead to lower quality of work. When someone is appointed to a position due to their family connections rather than their qualifications or motivation, their quality of work can suffer. This can damage the reputation of the government and lead to a decrease in public trust. The good news is that there are ways to reduce nepotism in government. One solution is to implement equal hiring and board appointment processes that require applicants to be evaluated on their qualifications and motivations rather than their connections. Additionally, there should be more transparency in the process and clear communication about why certain candidates were chosen over others. Ultimately, nepotism in local government can have a negative effect on employee morale and the reputation of the government. It is important to take steps to reduce nepotism, creating a sense of trust, transparency, and a culture of openness. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mike Hill. Come forward, Mr. Hill.
My name is Mike Hill at 48 South Park Street. Mr. Mayor, first thing I want to say is under First Amendment, under case law, New York Times versus Sullivan says my 3 minutes is my 3 minutes, and you can't tell me what to say and
okay.
how loud I can say
Don't
it.
waste your 3 minutes. I understand New York Times. Okay.
So
If I went too far, I'm sorry.
you corrected her just then, and she had a right to say anything she wanted to say into her time.
Okay. Move on.
Okay. Y'all, and I say y'all, I'm talking about 3 commissioners got rid of our town manager. And I call it blackmail. And y'all can call it what you want to. When you go and tell him he's got to accept an offer of being fired, he's got to resign or be fired, I think that's blackmail. That's my feelings. Jerry Vincent was a good man. He worked hard for this town. For 3 years, I know 2 commissioners that constantly went to him and asked him, and constantly tried to get him fired. Now, I stood in the way of a couple of them, and I think y'all exactly know what I'm talking about. I stood in the way the man was going to be put out even before he got hired, and everybody was in favor of him. But then you have one person that was against it, and he was going to throw a kink in it for him not to be hired. And then from that time on, there was a couple of commissioners always wanting him fired. Now, I think it's wrong. If y'all want to be a town manager, put in for the job. Quit being a commissioner and still want to be telling the town manager what to do. Let the town manager do it. We're sitting here without a town hall now. Got people, well, they were strong all over everywhere. Finally, they got back over to the original town hall after we tore down buildings and everything. We're without a town hall. Well, without a town manager. What else are y'all going to do? I got one commissioner ordered me off the property of the temporary town hall, ordered me off the property because I told him he was part of a web, and I hope he was satisfied. And then he pointed in my face, and then pointed toward the gate and told me to get off the property. That was public property. I don't care if it does have a gate. It was temporarily a town hall.
Okay, please wind it up, sir.
Next month.
Okay. With all due deference to New York Times versus Sullivan.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment, please? Can the record be shown that that it was a unanimous decision to accept Mr.
You can't.
Okay.
No, that's no. Okay. Michael Collins. You want to reserve your comments until then?
I think I will.
Okay. Brian Hawley.
Good evening, Board and Mayor and Mr. Hicks, Dan, Brian Hawley, 49 Cary Lane Drive here in Anger. Wow, thank you guys. I'm glad a lot of this is brought out because I've been investigating and researching, and I've spoken to every one of you about the concerns of nepotism. I've been communicating with the state ABC Commission for the last, 20 days or so. We're close to solidifying the issue that I think that some people may be worried about. And just so you know, their legal counsel contacted me today. We had a great conversation. They are in the process of possibly doing an exemption for the individual in question. They said that we did a great thing with our application process and making the modifications to ask a simple question pertaining to relatives on boards or inside organizations within the town. Furthermore, I think that you guys have done a great job in the vetting process, considering what you are faced with when it comes to those applications. When we find something out after the fact, all we can do is try to make it better for the next time. And I think that, nothing was done maliciously, nothing was done with a hidden agenda with that individual or that circumstance. I've spoken with Dan and legal, like I said, at the ABC Commission and each one of you. So I do want everyone here to understand that, the organization that we represent, the ABC store, we want a positive culture, and we want one that people can trust and rely on. We don't want one where we're seeing favors and things of that nature. We've been working diligently to make sure that does not happen. We have a little bit of work to go, but, I think we're headed in the right direction. So are there any questions from the board pertaining to this or any other matters?
Board? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, that's all that signed up. Just a footnote on New York Times v. Sullivan. One of the limitations on that case is the use of malice. I will not permit malice to come forward in this meeting. All right.
And just from a legal perspective, I will say you do have the right to maintain decorum in the meeting, and
that's correct.
You can't prohibit someone from speaking based on content, but you do have the right to protect decorum of the meeting.
We want to protect the right of citizens to speak here, but there are limitations, like not yelling fire in a theater, okay, when there isn't a fire. All right. Okay. The consent agenda, it's just the approval of the minutes for December the 6th. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Any questions? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Again? Okay, it's unanimous. All right. Okay. Legislative public hearings, rezoning request by Parm Santar. Randy, tell us about this.
Good evening. I can't hear myself, but I'm assuming y'all can hear me. We have two legislative public hearings this evening, and definitely want to get sworn in for testimony. We have a Bible handy. That's a yes.
I assume it's Veronica. Do we have a Bible for people to be sworn in, if there's any public?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Typically, I think as town staff, you're not testifying necessarily as a fact witness. So, but if other people have testimony,
we're good. Okay, so the petitioner is here with me tonight, or he's not necessarily here with me; he's here by himself. But I did receive an application right after I got here. It was brought in into the summer, and this individual, Mr. Parm Sandhar, has purchased a property. I don't have a pointer. Let's just assume I'm using my finger. Nope, we're doing good. Back one. Yeah, there we go. So it's this tiny triangle down at the bottom here. This gentleman is the only piece of land in the, thank you so much. The red button. That's yes. Arrows, good. Oh, okay, that's good. All right, so what I was going to say is it's the very small piece of land there. It's 0.6 of an acre. And the lot is 255 by 205 by 327. It's triangular shape. There's currently a house on it. Whoa, traveling. The surrounding land uses, as y'all can probably tell from your packet, it's an awful lot of farmland around there, wooded area. There's a business next door, Carolina Sign Service. Everything adjacent is either zoned CP, which is Commerce Park, which is the area that's in green here, or it's zoned RA, which is residential agricultural. Mr. Sandhar turned in a statement. He wishes to convert this house that's on this very small piece of land here and turn it into a business. Took this in front of the planning board and at their December meeting and got a recommendation for this rezoning. And he is here to answer any specific questions about the request. Was a positive from the planning board. I didn't see any reason to object. So in terms of our land use plan and in terms of our general zoning program, I don't see any real reason not to approve. Did y'all want to?
Randy, sorry, quick question for Randy. Not that we can't get you back. Randy, just curious,
Yes, sir.
what was the vote from the planning board? Was it unanimous? Thank you.
Unanimous, yes, sir.
Dan, can we inquire as to the usage when we're talking about zoning?
And only if it's conditional zoning. If this is just a straight rezoning to Commerce Park from RA30 to CP, I don't think you can inquire about the particular use.
It's a curious thing of the law that when we are asked to change zoning, if it's straight zoning, we cannot determine what the property is going to be used for.
But he already states it on the slide, right?
Well, the slide states what, because obviously we had a conversation about it, but I was just going to say that actually, when you do a straight rezoning, you're actually saying yes to every use in that district.
Correct. Correct.
So you can't base your decision on what one particular applicant wants to do with it. You have to base your decision on the myriad of uses that would be permitted under this new zoning and whether those permitted uses are appropriate for the area.
That's a little tricky, but that's the law. Yeah. Okay. So, would you like to say something? Yes.
No, I think Mr. Crane covered everything. So we are trying to be in compliance with the neighboring properties, which is CP zoning, and being on 210 is not really the best use. House is not the best use like residential, so commercial will be more desirable.
Is there work going on at the house now?
Yes, we're changing the siding, making it nicer, and we'll go through having some parking as needed for the commercial use.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Go ahead, Junior.
Getting back to parking, what's the requirement on parking for what, for this kind of rezoning?
It's pretty much a straight one space for every 350 heated square feet.
Okay, we done the math on that to see how many spots, because you don't have a lot of parking
As I said,
over
at this
there.
moment, we don't have a site plan. We're just trying to, as it's currently zoned, using it for commercial use would not be lawful. And so certainly the use that he has specified requires a special use permit, so a site plan would come back with that.
Randy, another question for you, and then I have one for you also as well. Randy, I see that this, again, if you could clarify for me, this is adjacent to what is considered commercial park right now.
Yeah, Commerce Park.
Commerce Park, which ideally in its, what I understand its term to be, is a larger facility generating commerce. We have lighter business, industrial, I believe, where Domino's Pizza is, the sign shop. So what is the title of that area? What is it given?
This particular sign shop here, it's
No, the pink area, I guess,
I'm
which
sorry, that's general commercial.
general commercial, which is for the smaller businesses. Commerce Park was designed for large industry.
The reason why his initial application was for general commercial, but trying to avoid a spot zoning, which is what I was most concerned about. There is over a mile, or right at a mile, from this area up at the top that's general commercial down to this. It just seems like a stretch. It felt like a stretch to me.
Thank you. I have a question now for Mr. Sandhar. So I have ridden by the property. So I'm curious. So you're already in there doing renovations as if you are, this is going to be rezoned for you. I'm a little confused because it seems to me that you put the cart before the horse.
We started the renovations, like we changed the roof, we changed the siding, did the repairs more, but to make it a use needed, then we'll go through the site plan to do all the parking and the ramp for the ADA compliance. So that will come after this rezoning, but everything that we could do before, like changing the windows, so all that was going to be done, regardless. So that's why we started doing that.
Okay, so you haven't done anything on the inside to open up or plan for a business.
No, so for the
Let me just step in real quick because I think we're getting into questions that are specific to his property and his use of the property, which I think is sort of beyond the bounds of what we should be asking in a rezoning.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
Any other comments?
Dan, I have a question, maybe just for you. If we rezone this to Commerce Park, which is what he wants,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not enough parking spaces there to accommodate whatever he wants to do.
That would be an issue for his business, but not necessarily a rezoning issue. It would be something, and that would be something that would likely be addressed at the next stage, which is when he submits a site plan.
Any further questions? Is there a motion to
I make a motion that we deny this request.
any discussion?
Yeah, before you vote, we do need to open the public hearing and hear any further
I'm
comments.
sorry. Okay. So let's open a public hearing. Are there any comments from those in attendance?
Yes, be sworn in.
No.
My name's Michael Collins. Family's on the farm right across the road. But what I'll say for Mr. Sandhar in this case is he has recognized the obvious. And the obvious is once you push a commercial property that has neon lights all night long up against a residential unit, you change the habitability and the character of that residential unit. So he purchased a piece of property that I've noticed in a number of years that's been through renter after renter after renter who does a lot of damage to the property and throws a lot of garbage out and makes a big mess because it's really, that changed the character so that it's no longer a reasonable residential location. I would agree with Mr. Coates. It probably, because of its size, is more appropriate to the pink zoning, whatever the pink zoning really means. But, in defense of the applicant, it's lost its marketability as a residential unit. It has been very unsuccessful in that measure for a long period of time. So I understand, his desire to change that. Whether or not this zoning allows you to restrict the types of commercial that might be there, according to your attorney, I guess the answer is no. But I don't believe that this property will ever, my observations, will ever legitimately be a residential location again. So I just wanted to speak on your behalf. And the other thing I wanted to mention real quickly is, as commissioners like yourselves make decisions about properties that are out in the country, I say out in the country, there's no country left, but you're actually making decisions for surrounding property owners, none of which vote in the town of Andrew for commissioners. So I appreciate y'all being cognizant of that fact, and I've seen that many times. You're cognizant of that fact. But each time you make a change, and the applicant is just recognizing the obvious, that once that commercial goes up against the residential 24 hours a day, neon lights, it loses its character. So I didn't help you make your decision, I'm sure, but I wanted you to be, cognizant of that's what's happening in these decisions.
So, Mr. Collins, do you live nearby?
I live a mile down the road, and my grandparents lived across the street.
Okay.
And again, the house across the street, we don't rent it out because, with the commercial across the street, we don't really feel like that it would be the kind of family environment, today that would get the kind of, rental market that we would desire, and that's because the neighborhood has changed because of that. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I just, appreciate y'all being cognizant of that. Those changes don't just affect the green area, they affect, everything around it. You leave an applicant like this with a position that he has a property that was residential. He didn't have much of a chance. My observations over the last few years of what's going on that property, he doesn't really have much of a chance to make it, a legitimate, viable residential property going forward. So, I don't know if that helps you make your decisions or not, but it's just an observation. I appreciate that. I also appreciate you thinking about, as you rezone properties through that it does have some impacts. So thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, that was Michael Collins. Okay. Any further comments from the audience? If not, are there any comments from the board?
Randy, can you go over, sir, the stipulations to rezone this, if you don't mind, on the slide?
Speaking to this group here,
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind a bit. Right. Okay, so the board's standards of review. Proposal will place all properties similarly situated in the area in the same category or in appropriate complementary categories. And the planning board said yes. Convincing demonstration that all permitted uses under the proposed district classification would be in the general public interest and not merely in the interest of an individual or a small group. The standard was checked yes. There's convincing demonstration the character of the neighborhood will not be materially and adversely affected by any permitted use in the proposed change. Yes, and the proposed change is in accordance with the comprehensive plan and sound planning practices.
Thank you, sir.
Just for the record, the comprehensive plan places the entire thing as one commercial.
Okay, any further questions from the board? I'll allow that. Come up front here.
If what I said indicated that I was against this, I'm really not.
Okay.
Because again, I recognize that property owner has an issue, and he's not going to be successful as a
Okay.
residential landlord.
Thank you, sir. Any further comments from the board? Randy?
Yeah, I was just going to say a slight correction. The statement was made earlier that there would not be a restriction on what was actually done. The Commerce Park actually requires sort of a marriage between residential and commercial as a mixed-use component. So there's a great number of businesses that would be allowable in a district such as the one that's pink up there that would not be allowable down here. The idea within a sort of a zoning theory is that you would be getting away from high-intensity commercial uses and out into something that's a little bit more compatible with the neighborhood. So things like a convenience store, a gas station, tax preparation, things where you think about it being less like an intense business use. Just want to share with you, there is an actual list of, which I know you all knew that.
Any further questions? If not, is there a motion regarding?
Close public hearing.
Yeah, we have to close the public hearing. Thank you. Keep me straight. Oh, it's a new year. All right. Any further discussion from the board? Is there any motion regarding the request submitted to rezone approximately 0.6 acres at 6959 Highway 210 North in Anger?
I will go back again. I make a motion that we deny the request.
Okay, the motion has been made to deny the request. Is there any discussion of the motion? If not, those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Those against, okay, that's 3. Those against, raise your hand. 3-1. The motion carries. The rezoning is denied.
Thank you. Okay. We ready to go to the next one?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
There we go. We'll just dispose of that. All right. Okay, our next, I'm sorry, let's go to the next set of slides. Okay. In this particular case, we're working with a slight disadvantage as there's no street address on this particular one, but Mr. Donald Gregory came forward with approximately 0.7 acres. He is not here this evening. I did want to be real clear about that. He's unable to attend, so I'm going to do my best to cover this adequately. So basically, it's 0.7 acres of land. He has purchased it. It's on West Church Street. And the particular issue with this particular piece of property is that it is 150, one moment. It is 100 and, let me just get this correct. I think it's 155 feet wide. Yes, no, I'm sorry, 115.9.19. And in order to divide this into 2 parcels, which is what Mr. Gregory had in mind, he was going to need 120 feet. So in the absence of a land stretcher, essentially what we have here is we have a lot that could not be divided into 2 lots. Sensing that, he discovered that R6 allows the lot road frontage to be made less wide. It's 50 feet. The setbacks are absolutely identical unless he intends to alley load the lots, which doesn't seem like a likelihood. The side setback is 5 instead of 10 feet. The rear setbacks are identical. I did want to bring your attention to the fact that this was initially discussed with Mr. Gregory as a potential conditional zoning. But there's sort of a weird quirk that I explained to the planning board, and I want to explain it to you all. When you have the good fortune or the misfortune of owning no more than 2 acres of land, you're trying to divide it into no more than 3 lots, where you're not going to dedicate a new street right of way, and the lots meet the standard of the town, then the subdivision would be exempt. So if this particular zoning were to go through, it would not be a normal subdivision in the sense that we would be coming in and hemming and hawing. It's just sort of an exempt sort of thing. It's one of the quirks in the law. So going back to our report, Mr. Gregory obtained this particular land several months back. It's vacant, hence the lack of a assigned street address. And it has sort of a weird situation, which you'll notice the top, everything north of this property is zoned R6. Everything adjacent to it is zoned R10 until you hit a fairly large white house along that stretch of the street, which is the beginning of the place where the R6 sort of jumps down and covers both sides of the street. This is in an area that is targeted for redevelopment. So the exceptionally good news is that going in and adding additional housing in there is not really much of a question. Yeah, here we go. So this particular slide shows it ever so slightly better. In terms of the land use plan, the land use plan doesn't discriminate. It basically says housing, 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 and some more housing. So unless you were trying to do something that was non-residential here, there's not a lot of guidance there. Did take this matter in front of the planning board at their last meeting, and the proposal was determined to be pretty much in keeping with all four of the findings, which actually appear on the next sheet. There we go. But so small no one can see it. And basically the recommendation was to grant the rezoning request. So essentially the question in front of you all tonight is more one of, does Mr. Gregory put one house on here, or does Mr. Gregory divide it in two and put two houses over here? That's pretty much about the size of it. And I guess I'm here to answer questions for both.
Is that a zoning issue?
Well, basically, right now, as it's currently zoned, you could put one house.
The rezoning would allow him to subdivide it.
I got you. Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I think I explained that
You did.
poorly.
You did. I got it.
Sorry about that.
I got it. Okay.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Okay.
And Randy, question for you again.
Yes.
What I heard you just say and the way I understand it and looking at the map. Again, you said basically the side of the street that this property is on is already R10s.
Yes.
You just step across the street and you step into a world of R6.
Yes.
It is totally mixed up with what would have been a plan or anything going on over there. So it's hard to fight for one or the other because it's already a mixed plan over there. So I wanted to clarify what I was hearing.
Yeah, it's basically the question is, do you want one house there or two? Right now, it's a bunch of trees.
Okay. Shall we have a public hearing?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Any comments from those in attendance? Okay. One of you come forward, identify yourself, and
My name is Jimmy Ragland. I manage 3 parcels on that street, just a block away. And I would rise to ask that this zoning request be denied. I see this as the first step of gentrification for this community. It's been zoned like this for some time. When this property was purchased, it was purchased on its current zoning, and I think the current zoning should remain in place.
any questions of him? Okay. The other comment, please. Yes, sir. You'll identify yourself, and do you live
My name is
there?
Walter Cheek, and the property that you say is zoned as R10 abuts my property. As a matter of fact, that property that was purchased by Mr. Gregory belonged to my family. It was a relative. They sold their part, and my part is still there. I agree with the gentleman that just spoke. I'm a little concerned about that. But my first question is, I didn't realize that that parcel was an R10. I thought everything there was R6. Can somebody clarify me on that?
Randy?
There's the map. Honestly, it's kind of a surprise to me as well, but everything to the south, next door to you, everything is R10. This is R6.
Okay, I guess the reason I'm puzzled, when I received an invitation to attend tonight, I understood it to say this meeting was to request that it be rezoned to R6.
That was
Right. Correct.
Okay. Now, does that mean everything else is R10?
Still, yes.
I would, if it is going to be rezoned, or if it is rezoned to R6, I would prefer that only one house be placed on it. I don't know if I have any much say so over, but that's what I prefer. Because I know if it's, the letter said, well, R6, doesn't that mean a denser population? You know,
Yes.
well, I'm a little confused as to how it can be denser if that's the only piece of property you were talking about.
The explanation was that there could be two houses on it if it were R6.
And just to clarify for the board and everyone, the issue of two houses is not really before the board tonight.
This is zoning
it is
once
straight
again.
rezoning. Should this be zoned to R10 or should it be zoned? Can it change to R6?
Correct.
Just happens to be that R6 would allow a subdivision, but that subdivision is not currently before the board.
Right.
Okay, well, in that case, I don't have anything else to add. But I personally, I'm not in agreement to rezone it. Well, it's a rezone. I don't know how I do that, so I guess I'm finished.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the audience? Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Close public hearing.
Okay. Close the public hearing. Is there any comments from the board?
I'm going to make a comment. So again, I'm one of those people, I explain myself a lot for why I do what I do and why I vote. And I'm going to do that right now. This was very confusing to me in looking at it and studying it. This truly is a mixed bag. You've got R6s right across the street, R10s on the other side. It is a mixed neighborhood. I'm always excited to see new building and new development. If this were probably any other neighborhood, and I think I did it probably only about 5 months ago, I voted against splitting a lot because everything in that community was R10 already. And it would change the value of homes and things of that nature. And given the fact that you're going to see in a moment why I'm going to vote the way I am, because it is a mixed bag here. Across the street, right beside it, I wouldn't be voting this way. And if you look back at how I voted 4 months ago, wherever long that was, in another neighborhood, which was completely all R10, I voted against subdividing to an R6 because it would change the value of the homes around it. These homes are already split across the street and there as to what they are. So I guess I'm giving you a little bit of information as to why I will be voting the way I'm voting.
Is there further discussion from the board? If not, as to the 7/10 acres located on Worth Church Street, the PIN number is 0673-68-0804.000, since we don't have an address, to change zoning only from R10 to R6. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the rezoning request from a R10 to R6.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of Commissioner Price's motion, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Okay, well then there's just one very minor matter. So, there's a ordinance to amend and then there's a consistency statement that were attached. I'm assuming that was approving the ordinance, but the consistency statement that I prepared covers your motivation behind voting in favor, which I put down that it would, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong piece of paper in front of me. There we go, excuse me. Aha. All right. The rezoning promotes an expansion of higher density residential in areas specifically identified as a redevelopment area while maintaining a cohesive neighborhood. And the reasonable and public interest portion of it would be that rezoning in an area designated for redevelopment will provide additional infill housing for an existing neighborhood, improving standard of living.
I don't think we have done these in the past.
Don't believe we have. It's not a bad idea to
Is
put
there any
if you are
objection?
changing the zoning to articulate why.
Right. Is there any objection to my signing these?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Now, we're down to new business, the budget amendment. Hans.
Well, this can seem like quite a lengthy budget amendment, but we have experienced budget amendments far lengthier. So, and they are to come, no doubt. And again, you know, when we review this budget amendment and whatnot, again, it can be reviewed in depth. Anyone can come into my office, or at some point, I can explain these budget amendments, but they are balanced, and they're good, and they're kosher, so everything's good in that regard. So, okay. So this budget amendment has a lot of multiple amendments within it, of course. Naturally, it's very efficient in that sense. The majority of the funds that are being impacted, of course, have to do with, and we experienced this last fiscal year, it had to do with the Bank of America rebate. It's a wonderful program that we got a part of. Mr. Mayor, I'm sure, of course, you're familiar with that.
Yes.
It's very
At the
good.
state, yes.
Yep, in the state, yeah, and they won the state award again, time and time. So we have received now so far, thus far, the highest rebate, and can't wait to see what the following fiscal year will entail. But $27,000, that's fantastic. That's pretty good. So essentially, the goal is that those departments that have spent or basically have used P cards, that they can go ahead then and through some percentage allocations and whatnot, they're you know, we take this rebate, this revenue, and we increase their allowable spending respectively. You know, so that's how that goes, and that part of this budget amendment impacts the majority of the funds. That's speaking about the rebate. So it's just reflecting, again, that yes, maybe we budgeted a little bit for the rebate, but still we have received more than we had anticipated, so we're doing this budget amendment to increase the revenue because it's beyond what we had anticipated, and thereby, of course, increasing our allowable spending. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So the other aspect of this budget amendment has to do with the asset forfeiture fund. Wonderful that we did this, and it took time. And so when we first took on this endeavor, we essentially approximated how much the asset forfeiture fund, which is the drug seizure fund, and basically what PD does on the federal side or state side. Money comes back. You can tax that. Whatever. Chief could probably really speak in depth on that. It's very exciting. You're tapping into the black market. It's wonderful. Just tapping into it. Might as well. So that's what's happening there. And in the end, the realization was that even though, yes, we had a budget amendment where we would transfer money from the general fund, where in which this drug seizure money was held. We transferred it. It's great, and so we had budgeted about $91,000. it still had to go through a reconciliation process, and there were 3 different angles I was going at. Whatever that, it took time. In essence, money was transferred over from the general fund balance, and also from the general fund liability lines that held drug seizure money. So, in transferring over, we essentially only needed yay much within the new fund that we had created, the 51 fund, and we did that. So, even though we started off with a budget of, for the asset forfeiture fund, $30,000, we, in fact, when we did transfer over the revenues, we needed more, or we needed to recognize more. The proper transfer took place, but now all we're doing is we are recognizing, okay, here's the transfer. Looks like there's more revenue than what we had anticipated, and so this is amending the revenue and, of course, amending the allowable spending within the respective departments.
Yeah, kind of complicated. There's going to be a test on this before y'all leave. Okay.
It's pretty good. If there are any questions, we can really go in depth at any point. Anyone can ask questions and so on, But it has been really looked in hardcore. So, pretty proud of that. Pretty proud of this because this is very important. And just a bit of, and others could elaborate, but a bit of history. I mean, it used to be where you would have you had to have a separate checking account, and then they said, well, okay, it's okay, you can go ahead and have a separate fund instead, and all that. But still, a lot of municipalities actually did not hold it in a separate fund, or let alone checking account, for that matter. And I could go on to various spiels and whatnot on what issues took place. It wasn't really good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
Okay.
So regardless. So and then lastly, of course, then the other part that would be discussed later would be just a budget amendment for the utility relocation agreement. So that will be discussed in depth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions of Hans or of Jimmy as to the contents of this budget amendment? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the budget amendment number 3?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the budget amendment number 3.
Okay, the motion has been made. Any discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor of approving budget amendment number 3, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you.
Now, there was one other thing you wanted to make a motion on audit.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the finance officer to end the audit contract and add it to a new business.
Yes, this is new business. Yeah.
Thank you. This is something that we've brought up on occasion throughout this fiscal year. The delay of the audit, the reason why for the delay, and so on and so forth. And there are a lot of reasons. It even says it within that, within that little with that contract that we're going to submit to the LGC, basically saying, hey, look, I mean, there was a lot going on during fiscal year 2022. And then aside from that, there are elements of the audit itself. So that was, it wasn't easy, but we made it, and we finally today just submitted everything that is necessary and needed for the ACFR. So forget just the financial statements. Again, for that, God willing, that award that we've been.
So it looks like it's going to be approved. You just need a little bit more time. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's basically saying, yes, good question, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's basically saying it's late. We know it. We as a board, as a town, as a finance officer and interim town manager and everyone else, we all know that it's late. Okay, we acknowledge it, we sign it.
Okay, before you dig too big a hole, let's see if there's any discussion on the audit motion. Okay, all in favor of the motion to extend the audit, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Okay,
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
that works. Okay, thank you. All right, old business. The board filled the various planning board and other boards at the last meeting, and yet there's been a vacancy created, and thank you for your service. Okay. Is there? There's still an application on file. What's the wish of the board? Is there a motion?
How many applicants are on file still? Just the one?
One.
I think since there's just one left, we go ahead and approve him.
That's
or her, whoever.
that's Sam Gregory. Yeah.
I make a motion that we go ahead and approve him.
Okay. Any discussion?
I think I would just like to clarify, Sam was not able to attend the last meeting to speak.
Mm-hmm.
He is not available again tonight because he's actually out of town on a vacation, which he rarely gets to take in the business that he is in. I would normally say we need to speak. As you know, I ask many questions of applicants and have a lot of questions to ask them about this. But I personally, given the fact that we only had one other applicant, and that was Sam for that, and that we all are well aware of who Sam is because of his dedication to civic organizations and to the town as well. He serves on the Chamber of Commerce. This is not an unknown entity, so I don't want it to look like we're not being thorough in this situation and what we're doing, because we all do know Sam and know his work here in the town and his commitment to many boards through the town. So otherwise, if it were an unknown person, I would say we need to wait again to be able to interview that one particular person, but he is the only one that is left as an applicant for that position.
And I like to put on the record, I am not related to him anyway, so just want to put that out there.
Madam Clerk, you had a comment?
I just wanted to remind the board that Sam's appointment would be the remaining term of what Courtney had.
Right.
Okay.
And that is actually what? 1 year.
1 year.
Okay.
All right.
Good to know.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. I suggest that we give Courtney Juiceness a hand and thanks for her service. All right. Okay. American Rescue Plan funding. This gets up to 7 digits. Thank goodness we have been the recipient of some good funding to do some of the things we needed to do. There were 2 amounts, and they came to us separately. But now the state wants to put them together, so we need to approve Resolution 001-2023 to accept ARP funding in the amount of $6,118,750 for the 1.25 million gallon wastewater treatment capacity upgrade. Is there such a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the American Rescue Plan funding project.
Okay. Any discussion? In effect, we've already approved this just separately, so we need to put it together.
Yep.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. All right. Rawls Church Road. Jimmy, you want to tell us about that?
Everybody's doing well. The part of our pump station project along Pump Station 1 was relocating the force main from discharging into Highway 55, and we're putting in a new 10-inch force main to dump into our gravity interceptor along Rawls Road. So we got an encroachment agreement from NCDOT to install that. We put that in, and then after the fact, Division 5 found out where Division 5 is doing the bypass part of 55, found out that force main was in conflict with the bypass. So DOT will reimburse us the amount to relocate the 10-inch force main, and it was under our recommendation that we'd be able to use our own contract, the same contractor. So if we had any issues, it was the same warranty, work with the same contractor instead of having multiple contractors.
Right.
They were in agreement with that, and then they would reimburse us 100%. I believe that cost was $278,000. They'll reimburse us for relocation of the force main.
Okay, they have approved it, but we just need to
We have to
approve
sign
their
the
agreement. Yeah.
The town attorney has reviewed that, and he has recommended that we go ahead and proceed with that. So once we get that signed off, and then we'll submit that DOT, we'll get reimbursed that amount.
Jim, is this a typo error? Because it says here the NCDOT will not reimburse the town for having the force main relocated.
They won't reimburse us
Without an executed agreement.
We have to have
without the agreement.
Right.
Okay.
Have to have an agreement.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Any further questions of Jimmy? If not, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the utility relocation agreement for the 10-inch force main.
Along Rawls Church Road. Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, board. Thank you, Jimmy. All right. Richard Hicks, we're happy to have you on board as our interim manager. What you got to tell us tonight?
I don't have a whole lot because I hadn't been here that long. But
microphone over, please.
Okay.
I see it.
It's on now. A couple of items. I look forward to working with the board. You've got a lot of challenges. It's going to take you a few months to hire a new manager. Hopefully we can keep things moving forward. For the public, I have about 40 plus years experience in this type of
You want to give us give the public a little bit of your background?
Okay. I graduated from, Appalachian State with a BS degree and a master's degree, basically in local government. My first job was in Marion, North Carolina, and I was there for 3 years. From there, I went to Pilot Mountain as the manager, and I was there for 5 years. And from there, I went to, Irwin. I was there for 3 years. So this is actually my third stop in this county.
How about Farmville?
Yeah. And I went from, Irwin to Farmville. I was their manager for 22 years. When I retired, when I started doing, interim jobs, and I've done probably 7 or 8 or 9 of those. I took a short extension in, Pittsylvania County, Virginia, as the deputy county manager. I was there for 4.5 years, and I resigned from that job in March of 2022, and I did a short stint in Elizabeth City as their interim manager, and that finished in June, and I didn't do anything from June till I got here. So, I do have extensive experience in budget and finance, and so I hope I have something to offer the board moving forward, and I think we can make some, progress. The only other thing I would mention, I would like to ask the board to consider the January 17th as a workshop. I've got 2 or 3 items I think we need to discuss. One will be the audit. It'll be finished by then. We have asked them to come make a formal presentation to the board on the audit. The second discussion would be your search for a manager and, how that moves forward. And then the third topic would be to discuss some type of annual retreat for the board as you,
Amen.
Plan for the future. So we got those 3 items already. So I think we
kind of been missing out on those during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We
that's
thank.
all I got. Just keep in mind, we probably will ask for that January 17th workshop. So.
Okay. We thank Triangle J Council of Governments in getting us in touch with you, and appreciate you being on board to help us through this time. Anything else?
Just mention the word interim. I know y'all, understand that, so I'm not permanent. So.
Interim, okay. Right. Okay. Departmental reports.
Can we follow this? Human Resources is next on our sheet. That's all I'm questioning.
Do you have any questions for me? Because usually there's nothing for me really to present to y'all.
Yeah, there's not much HR can say in open session usually.
Just double checking.
I mean, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything.
No, we did read your submission.
Okay, Hans, finance.
It's elaborate. All right, well, so the usual shtick. And again, let it be known, and allow me to, I guess, be redundant in saying that these are November numbers. So in fact, rather, December numbers are exceptionally, really, really good. Even in the planning department and whatnot, as far as the revenues that come in from there. So, but ad valorem, as far as with November, comparing November of 2022 to 2021, November, right? And the property tax, we have basically we have 203,000 more than what we had received last November. That's nothing really to sneeze at. That actually really, really very much speaks to the projections that we've looked at. Our local option sales tax, again, have we not spoken about how nearly we are almost recession-proof and whatnot-proof, so it seems. It's really astounding, 122,000 in comparison to last year. Building permits up 11,500, water sales up 132,000, again, relative to, right? Sewer sales there too, 131,000. And our interest on our investments, the investments of our idle funds, again, was it last month? It was 27,000. Either way, we closed December. So here I am speaking about December, I guess. We closed December with 34,000. So that's very nice. That's very good. So we're very aggressive in with our investments and whatnot, and our budget, it most certainly reflects that. That's the best part about it all. So, but again, most importantly, is that all of these numbers here, even though we're comparing them to last year, again, right, November of 2021, we're comparing them there. Budgetarily, we are exceeding what we've anticipated. And even then, while we were going through the budget process, we were moderately aggressive. So, needless to say, again, thank God, we are doing very well. Not all municipalities can say this. We're fortunate. And that is what I have.
Okay. Good enough.
Thank you.
Any questions of
Hans? I do have one quick question for you. In reading over your spreadsheets so that I do understand them, I meant to come to you before and just ask the question, but since you're standing here, I'm going to ask you that now. When you break down your items and then you get to the bottoms and you do revenues over expenditures and you do the spread between them, I'm curious I should have enough sense to figure this out, but there's so many numbers on this page. Is there a difference in color coding between what's in red and what's in green? I think may have been the choice of the color, blue, green, teal. But is that showing a profit or a loss? Is that what I'm seeing in the red?
Yes, sir.
Because without a negative or a positive, I'm thinking, just so I know how to read the sheet.
Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner. Absolutely. It's somehow I think that there's some kind of color conversion issue between what I have in Excel.
I understand.
What gets printed over. Either way, it's clearly green, or what may appear green. That's a positive.
A positive. Thank you.
It's red. So yeah. So we can maybe at the next board meeting I could really go a little bit in depth with those just to elaborate. So, why not? It's fun. Finance is fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Jimmy, why don't you see if you can tighten that microphone up a little bit so it won't swing all over the place. There you go. Well, almost.
All right. All right, board. Good evening again. You've got my budget report. Budget report. We've got my staff report in front of you. Pretty much this time of year, it's all about the water leaks. So just to give you an example from this is not in your report. It'll be in there next month since it's usually a few weeks behind. So from the 24th of December to the 31st of December, we repaired about 9 water leaks. So when that cold weather hit, we were out and about trying to get all those repaired. So the guys, like I said, came in on Christmas Eve, and I was actually out on New Year's Eve making a repair. So, I'd like to commend the staff for getting out there in the cold weather and fixing those and keeping everybody in service for that. One thing I want to share with you, got a call, I guess probably a couple weeks ago from Commissioner Kazakavich about the speed along our business district. Our business district from Willow Street down to NC 55 along Highway 210 is 20 miles an hour. So I reached out to the DOT to see if we can change the speed limit further out. They said if we make any changes, then we're looking at having a 25 mile an hour all the way through, which is speeding up the business district by 5 miles an hour. And Chief could probably comment on this, but I think when most people are driving, they're going to drive maybe 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. So, it was, I think, between the conversation with Chief and then Mr. Hicks, that we would recommend keeping the same policy in place and keeping everything 20 miles an hour in the downtown district. One thing that DOT said that they will look into and to see if they can put some more pedestrian activity signs along that area over downtown business, so we get more visibility with those. And I think a lot of issues that we see is people want to cross the road wherever they park. They don't want to go down to the crosswalks. And a lot of people coming out, in that area, and people may not be expecting them, because we've got crosswalks marked. And so that, I think that has a lot to do with our pedestrians really having to stress to our pedestrians to make sure that we go to these crosswalks and cross where it's safe. Because DOT actually put in the crosswalk signs there at Broad Street and Depot Street. So I think, like I said, unless the board wants us to look at other avenues, I think between, the three of us, we recommend just trying to keep that at 20.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out how to slow the traffic down from coming through there just a little bit, that's all.
Yep. So if the board is okay, then I'll go ahead and reach out to DOT and trying to get more pedestrian-friendly signs in that area to really enhance that. So,
The other question I also have, is there any way we can get DOT to change the timing on the crosswalk signs? Because halfway across the street, they turn. Even with my long legs, I can't make it across the street before it goes to red.
okay, is that just on the Broad Street?
On both of them.
Both sides?
Both sides, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check with them to see what the timing is. Yes, sir. And then, other than that, I think that's all I've got. Any questions for me?
Okay. Well, thank you for being out there digging when it's so cold. We appreciate you.
Jimmy, during the holidays, I know, I think it's South Dunn Street.
In front of the depot. Got South Broad, and then the next one over South Dunn.
Dunn.
Yes, sir.
There was a cable. Are you familiar with that? You heard about that cable that was across the road?
No, sir.
Huh? Because somebody put cones out there is my question, and people were going around those cones, and I was just wondering why we didn't put a hard barricade up there.
I think when you get that call, don't you usually call dispatch, and then dispatch will send over somebody from either Charter or Spectrum, whoever that is.
Okay. Any other questions of Jimmy?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Derek with Parks.
Evening, board, mayor. Hope everybody had a nice long holiday break and season. If you're like me, probably ate too much and exercised very little, so got to figure out a way to combat that for the next few months. Just a couple things. You guys got my report. Basketball's rolling. We started back practices tonight. We will start games on Saturday. So we're pretty much in there every night to the week and every Saturday through the end of February. So that will last for the next couple months, and then we'll get back into warm season stuff. Good news is the playground construction started last Wednesday, and they are rolling. The warm, nice weather has really helped them get going on that. We're hoping if the weather keeps cooperating, they're going to be done probably by the end of next week or pretty close to finishing up. So we're hoping to open that playground back up before the holiday weekend, the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. That's the goal if the weather cooperates. Like I said, they got out here last Wednesday, and they've been going nonstop every day since. So it looks really good. If you guys get a chance to go by there, you can see some of the components that they're putting in and stuff. And hopefully it's some good PR that we had to close it down for a little bit, but they see the results right away. It wasn't like they tore it down and sit there. As soon as they tore it down, they started bringing equipment in and installing it, which made it really nice for us from a PR standpoint. We didn't have people calling or emailing or knocking on our door. Where'd the playground go? What are you going to do with the playground? So they already knew we were doing a new one, which made it a little bit easier for us. Last thing, and I don't want to go into much detail with this, but me and Richard met with the county manager and the county Parks and Rec director on December the 20th to talk about maybe a partnership or funding ideas for a community center and or a new park. Without going into a real big detail, the county manager, Brent Trout, did have some specific ideas that as we get into the budgeting process for next year, and we talk about that at the retreat, it was some good news, actually. Some other ideas and maybe some other avenues that we can take to where the town don't front the entire cost of the projects. So looking forward to sharing that and getting more in detail with that as we move closer to the workshop process, the budget.
Sounds great.
That's about it.
Questions for Derek?
Derek, the parks under your direction, like I've always said, is doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
I did go down there and see the new construction. And I know your guys don't operate like this, but can you mention to the contractor you've got down there over the weekend, they got it barricaded off.
Yes.
But they're leaving hose and tools hanging from the equipment. And all that is an invitation for kids to grab them. And
Right. Yeah, and actually, I got them to clean up the big pile of dirt in the parking lot today. They got 99% of that cleaned up today because I didn't want it to rain on it and it washed all down the parking lot and stuff. So, I will mention it to the supervisor tomorrow when they're out there.
Thank you, sir.
Make sure they clean up their tools and take them with them when they go. And
I know when they get ready to go home, they go.
That fence only works if there's a parent to supervise.
That's right.
That kid. And sometimes the parents are out there to relax and not really
pay
that close attention to them, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
But we'll address that tomorrow morning with them.
Jimmy, I just wanted to mention for all the people that are watching online and hearing things, they don't get to see what we read and everything. And I think what you suggested to us is a great suggestion to the entire community, that this $1.1 billion surplus is available, that could come to us, and that we really, as individuals, need to reach out to Howard Penny and Jim Bergen to see if there's any way that they can help us achieve some of that money.
At least a part of it.
Some of it to come to us for, whether it be a community center or something. But the community, I would highly encourage you as well to know that exists. And I'm sure if they have any questions, they can contact you down at the park. But it is the fact that there is money available, and perhaps they can help us acquire some of that.
Absolutely, Alan. I'm glad you brought it up. I didn't want to bring it up, but I'm glad you.
No, there are a lot of people watching online. I know that, and that's good information for the public to have.
Absolutely, and I think there's a specific way we can go about it to help enhance our chances of getting some funding from that.
Sure.
Good.
So,
Good.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Come to the microphone.
All right. We start out with a good report for the month of December, but it's going to get better in just a minute. In your packet, I think you're going to see that when this report was prepared, we had issued 66 permits, conducted 178 building inspections, and had issued new construction permit for 25 houses, and he collected 23,107. Actually, for the month of December, we collected 65,100, so there was a little bit of a burst that last week. And at this particular point, instead of being at 63% of budgeted revenue for that particular line item, we're at 78%, which is outstanding.
Awesome.
Planning fees and permits is at 114% of projections, and mobile home compliance inspections at 264%. So that's
Right.
We're way above revenue where we should be, and I'm quite proud of it. There's a updated list with a few updates on the way next month regarding our subdivisions, of which we have many. We're going to have a technical review meeting tomorrow and hopefully knock out some more approvals for final plats. But I did want to draw your attention to our code enforcement report, which is also in here. 12 new investigations, 6 nuisance, 6 zoning. We abated a dilapidated structure and did a cleanup, closed 8 cases, and we closed 1 minimum housing, 5 zoning, and 2 nuisance. So 1 civil citation. So I think we're doing a pretty good job in our department. I'm very proud of my staff.
Well, we're proud of you too. Okay.
We're working very hard. And speaking of my staff.
Randy, I got a question for you,
Yes,
sir.
sir. I'm sorry.
And I don't mind putting
so
my
close
name
to
on
outdoor.
this one.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Can you talk with your code enforcement officer and do some research on the mobile food trucks?
Yes, sir.
That we have in town to make sure that they're following the rules
Not a
by
problem.
the state, by the county, commissaries, the whole 9 yards. I just don't want Andrew downtown to look like a state fair in 5 years.
Yes, sir.
cotton candy vendors and everybody up and down Main, 55 highway. I want to make sure that we're following the rules, and if not, then, we need to do something about it, and even maybe in the future, maybe creating a spot where we can, like a lot of cities have, where vendors can go and set up instead of right here on
Yes, sir.
55 highway.
It's quite popular, particularly Raleigh and Durham have areas that are specifically designated.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Back to my staff, who I'm bragging on. I'd like to introduce this young lady.
Happy New Year.
Hey.
Glad to see y'all all again. Just kind of going over what happened in December. So Christmas on the Square I thought was amazing. We had so many people coming up saying that is their favorite time in Andrew. So that, and then we survived the rain for the parade. The vendor fair after the parade was a little soggy, but yeah. But the parade was great, and it was good attendance. And I heard nothing but great things from the people who attended. The ugly sweater stroll was 2 weekends after that. We are going to keep it at the depot. Any way I possibly can do that. And it was a little cold, but it was well attended. So, and we have some really good things coming up for 2023. Some fun things. So.
Good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope. Doing good.
All right.
Thank
you.
Hope everyone's doing well.
Yep.
Police activities for the month of December, if you notice it, in order to get everything turned in to y'all on time, we had to turn everything in a little early this time, so numbers are a little down, but everything was turned in on December 21st. Police activities for December consisted of 2,859 calls for service / officers initiated activities. Officers investigated 30 offenses. During these investigations, 14 individuals were arrested on a total of 23 charges. 8 arrests were made due to outstanding warrants. 2,433 subdivisions / security checks were logged for the month of December. 14 traffic accidents reported were created for the month. And y'all's sheet, it says 6 were cited for ordinance violations. It's actually 7. That was for you, Mr. Coates. The Christmas parade, as Miss Casey said, went great. The Christmas tree lighting on the square went great, no issues. We were able to receive a 50-50 grant through US DOJ for bulletproof vest. Every vest that we purchased in the last year, we got 50% back.
Cool.
And we have been preparing for the end of year agency reporting to turn into the state. That's our education packets.
Any questions?
How's the radio stuff coming?
We should be getting the radios, I wouldn't be afraid to say next week or the week after. Now, as of right this second, we've only ordered 2. We're going to actually, for the next budget, we're going to put in for a few more. Well, actually, the grant is going to cover the majority of it.
Right.
We have been approved that grant as well.
Do they coordinate with your existing radios?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Dunn PD's already using them now. It's just instead of using the Motorola, we're going with the Kenwoods.
Chief, don't you have a promotion to announce?
Yeah, we did.
You already did it.
We did promote. It was Lieutenant David Adams. Now it's Captain David Adams.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? I don't see anybody left over there.
Except Hans,
Oh, no.
Dan.
I don't have anything.
The board have anything they want to say? I'd just like to say thank goodness for all the funds we are receiving. Keep in mind that as we grow, our obligations also increase. So, thank goodness we're keeping in pace with that. Anything else? There is on the agenda a closed session pursuant to NC General Statute Chapter 143-318.11 A3 and A6 to discuss items under attorney-client privilege and personnel. Is there a motion that we adjourn to closed session? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess and we'll be in closed session.